YTPC Padre coming to you via the virtual airways of YouTube to say hello, YouTube pipe community. Hope you are doing well. Hope you're finding all the blessings that the Lord has in store for you. I know I'm looking for them and I'm finding them, and when I find them, I give him thanks and he shows me some more. It's good stuff. You got to find yourself in the attitude of gratitude. You know what I'm thankful for today? You stopping by as I record this over my lunch hour. I'm actually recording this Wednesday afternoon. I don't know if I'll get it up on Wednesday. It may not be up till Thursday. I say that just because one of the things I want to talk about today has a little bit of timeliness associated with it, so that if I don't get it up, say till tomorrow, some of what I'm going to talk about will be historical, but that doesn't much matter because the topic is just broader. A couple of things I want to talk to you about today. I want to give you some housekeeping. I'm going to get to that in a second. The timely sort of thing I want to talk to you about is weather, and I'm going to give you some opinions. How's the weather by you? I don't know. I want to talk to you. I want to do a little ranting actually about what we might call the science of weather. And I want to call some things into question. I want to see if I'm the only one out there who thinks this way, or if I'm just crazy. And I might be a loner out there who's just crazy. And then I also want to talk to you about something that I had promised for a long time that I was going to bring to the YTPC, and I failed to do it. And that is my Rectors Blend. And so that was a blend that I put together in my effort to attempt to try and replicate Frogmorton's Cellar by McClellan, which is no longer there. I had no luck in doing that. But what I ended up doing was finding something that I was enjoying. And so I gave up on trying to get to the frog and just tried to turn this concoction into something that I ended up liking, which was a bit of a crossover. A light aromatic English, and heck, I've been enjoying. So I want to give you the recipe, and not only the recipe, the process for that. And the reason is because I have totally screwed up explaining that to somebody, and you're probably going to end up hearing it. So I'm going to get to that too. But I tell you what, let's start with housekeeping. This is my Rossi Rubino. This is made by Savinelli. Fantastic pipe. Picked this up at Eddie Gray's Pipe Nook, and you can do the same. This is a fantastic line of pipes, and I have in it today over lunch, enjoying this. This is some HH Burley Flake. This is made by McBaron. It is a fantastic blend. I'm on the newer side to the Burleys, particularly the pure Burleys like this, but I have just really taken to this. I've been enjoying the Virginia Burley blends this summer, more so even than the Virginia Periques. And pardon me, while I make sure I've got this puppy lit. And yes, I know the lighter I'm using, and you know who you are. And you know what? If you want me to use a real lighter, doggone it, Blue Dog, don't just send me one, huh? Also enjoying a cup of, as my friend Ghost Cop would say, a cup of mud, some black coffee today. And I tell you what, it pairs so well with this Burley Flake. Man, oh man. Here's that good stuff. I'm going to read this to you. A Burley-dominated flake containing tobaccos from 3 continents. Besides Burley, this flake also contains ripe Virginia and a small portion of dark-fired Kentucky. This is coming right off of tobaccoreviews.com. Just a flavorful, if you want to get into the really enjoying just the natural flavor of the leaf itself, this is one of those blends that you can do that. All right, here's the I got the house cleaning out of the way. Here's the timely part I want to talk to you about. Like I said, if I get this up today, the real time of some of what I'm going to talk about will be, but the bigger, here's where I'm going. I'm not even completing a sentence, am I? The bigger picture of what I'm going to present today has really nothing to do with whether you hear this the day I make this tape, so it shows you how old I am. The day I make this video, or whether you watch this a year from now, you're probably either going to say, I never thought of that, or yeah, you're right, I have thought of that, or yeah, you're right, you are crazy. You came up with that on your own, and you're just a goofball, and we shouldn't listen to you. All right, it's about this. It's about weather, and in particular, tropical weather and hurricanes and tropical storms and such. And it's important to me because I live down here on the Gulf Coast, right? And we were impacted 14 years ago by a hurricane called Katrina down here in New Orleans. So you watch these sorts of things. But here's where I'm going. This season in particular, it seems to me that the National Hurricane Center or the National Weather Service or whoever's in charge of declaring these storms to be what they are, and they collect the data, and it is data driven. But it seems to me they've been in a rush to name storms. And maybe that's technically correct, that if a storm reaches its potential or reaches the cutoff, so to speak, of being named, you name it even if it doesn't last for very long, right? Here's my point. If that's the case, it's really not a fair comparison to take 2019 data and compare it, say, to 1979 data from, 40 years ago, because we didn't have the same kind of technology back then that we have now. And I would suggest to you that we might have missed stuff 40 years ago that we're actually catching today. And so the data ends up looking a little bit skewed, in my opinion. I also think, here's where the paranoid thoughts come, I also think there is a political agenda behind the weather today. I think there's an economic agenda behind the weather today. Do you know that named storms are treated differently by insurance companies than unnamed storms? So you've automatically now, you've entered into a realm of economics when you start talking about these sorts of things. But just to get everybody kind of up to speed with where I'm going with this. All right, a tropical storm, right? So there's this glob of stuff out there, all right? And the Weather Service first calls it an invest, and they give it a number. So invest 90 something or whatever, okay? And they watch it. They're investigating it, right? And at some point, it's going to get itself organized to a point where they can say, this is what we call a tropical depression, all right? But tropical depressions don't get names, okay? Tropical storms get names. A tropical depression, and I got this right off the internet. Tropical depression is a tropical cyclone that has a maximum sustained surface wind, that's a 1 minute average, of 38 miles per hour or 33 knots or less. Okay, so if it's in that category being 38 mile an hour sustained winds or less, it's organized. We're going to call that a depression. Once it crosses that barrier, it becomes 39 miles per hour sustained winds. That's that 1 minute average. It gets called a tropical storm, and it's given a name, okay? Now, that 39 goes all the way up to 73, okay? It can get up to 73 miles an hour sustained wind. It's still called a tropical storm, and it's given its name, Tropical Storm Padre, or whatever the case may be, right? And then you get into the categories of hurricanes once you get into the 74 mile an hour and higher, and that's based on what's called the Saffir-Simpson scale. So category 1 hurricanes are from 74 miles an hour to 95 miles an hour. You get a category 2 is between 96 and 110 miles per hour. Category 3 is where you're reaching into what's called major storms. These are 111 to 130 miles per hour. Category 4 is 131 to 155, and Category 5 is anything over 155 miles per hour. That's a bad storm that you don't want to have anything to do with. All right, so these names are picked out in advance. I believe they run on like a 7-year cycle. So, you know, if there's Tropical Storm Padre this year, if it doesn't get retired, and I think it's 7 years. Maybe it's, I don't know how many years. It's a few years. You'll circle back around in that cycle, and that name will be used again. So this is the names that the Hurricane Center has given for 2019. It started with the name Andreea. It goes to Barry, Chantal, Dorian, Aaron, Ferdinand, Gabrielle, Umberto. Imelda is where we are today. All right, that's how far we've gotten. But here's what I want to get to you. I've got the data of this. Now, the first storm this season in 2019 was actually named outside of the traditional boundaries of June the 1st through November 30th. Now, you can't hold fast to that, right? Because that's just kind of like, it's almost arbitrary. We say here's when the tropical season begins and here's where it ends. Obviously, it can come earlier than that, and we did. So we had one named Andreea that got named in May. But here's the deal with that first named storm. Catch this. May the 20th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. AST, that's Atlantic Standard Time, 6:30, subtropical storm Andreea forms. And it formed just southwest of Bermuda, had sustained winds of 40 miles an hour. Now that puts it, again, it's above 39 miles an hour, so it puts it in the what? In the tropical storm category at 6:30 in the evening on May the 20th. Now, at 11 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time on the next day, so the next morning, all right, it goes from 6:30 p.m. to 11 a.m. the next morning. It has now weakened to a tropical depression, not worthy of being a named storm. Just another way of putting that. Do you see what happened there? In less than 24 hours, in fact, that's less than 18 hours, I think. I don't know what the math is there. That thing was no longer being capable of bearing a tropical storm name. Now they continue to call it, former tropical storm, Andreea, whatever. Okay? But seriously, do you think we would have caught that 40 years ago? I suspect not. And I'm even wondering, when it peaked out at 40 miles an hour, where's the standard error on this thing? Could it really have just been at sustained winds for the most part over 1 minute, peaking out at 38, which would have put it not in the category of even reaching a tropical storm? I'm just saying that's a little bit suspect. All right. Now, July 11th at 10 a.m., Barry was formed, and it stayed a storm for 11 days, making itself truly a tropical storm / hurricane all the way up to July the 22nd. That's legit. But I would suggest to you that 40 years ago, what we called Barry this year would have actually been Andreea. See where I'm going with this? Instead of having one storm being named by July, we have two this year. When you make predictions about the level of activity and you're a scientist, it looks good when your predictions come true. Call me paranoid if you want. Let's get to the third named storm of the season, the sea storm. It was called Chantal. Now catch this. Chantal was named at 11 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time on August the 20th when it formed just southeast of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Do you know how far up into the Atlantic that is? We're now leaving warm waters. Further north he goes, getting cooler and cooler and cooler, less likely for a storm to continue to develop. 11 p.m. AST on August the 20th, Chantal is named. Chantal reached a peak intensity of 40 miles an hour. Again, that's about the minimum you're going to ever be a tropical storm. And that was at 1,009 millibars if you're a geek following that kind of stuff. But on August the 22nd at 11 p.m., Chantal was weakened to a tropical depression. That just happens to coincidentally happens to be a full 24 hours because maybe somebody complained about Andreea not even making it 24 hours. I don't know, folks. Maybe I'm being paranoid. Maybe I'm just being cynical about all this. That's fair. That's fair. I want to keep going. Dorian, which was kind of a bad butt storm. It really was. Lasted from August 24th to September 9th. True, I mean, it hit Cat 5. This is the real deal. Dorian, that's the fourth named storm. I'm telling you that maybe 40 years ago, because I'm not even sure we would have been sending hurricane planes up to Nova Scotia 40 years ago. Somebody can correct me on that if they know better. I'm saying that by August, we would have had 2 named storms, not 4, 40 years ago. All right? I just don't think the data is comparable is what I'm getting at here. I think that there are other motives also. It's not just about inter-rater reliability, and that's probably not the exact right science term. It's the term I know from my PhD being in psychology and social sciences. We would say inter-rater, but some sort of reliability of instrumentation. 40 years ago, we didn't have, okay? So let's go to the next named storm, number 5, Erin, all right? On August the 28th at August the 27th, tropical depression number 6 strengthens into tropical storm Erin. That's 11 p.m. on August the 27th, just west of Bermuda. 11 p.m., August the 27th. 11 a.m., August the 28th. Tropical storm Erin weakens into a tropical depression. A 12-hour named storm. Would we have even caught that 40 years ago? All right. Every other storm seems to be one that really 30, 40 years ago, I'm not sure we would have named. So Erin, A, B, C, D, E. That's the 5th storm, and I'm saying that's 5, and maybe we would have actually named 2 40 years ago. All right? Now you can fast forward to Ferdinand. That's the F storm. That lasted from September 3rd to September 5th with a peak intensity 50 miles an hour, still within the tropical storm range. Clearly, probably meeting the criteria for truly being a tropical storm. You got a couple of days there where it's in that category, and then we hit Gabrielle on August the 30th. The National Hurricane Center began monitoring a tropical wave emerging from the west coast of Africa. Over the next few days, disturbance slowly organized while moving westward. System strengthened to become the 8th tropical depression of the season late on September the 3rd, before intensifying further into Tropical Storm Gabrielle overnight. That's the 3rd into the 4th of September. The system remained poorly organized, and Gabrielle encountered high wind shear and dry air, causing the storm to degenerate into a remnant low on the 6th. Questionable what's really, would this have been named? Would it have been named 40 years ago? They really have a good way of describing exactly what was happening, and I would suggest that it's probably highly accurate. Would we have named this 40 years ago? We would have had that kind of data. I don't think so. Convection began to appear over the northern part of the center within 6 hours, making Gabrielle's regeneration into a tropical storm. Soon after, Gabrielle began tracking westward before turning northeastward, leaving the northern part of the warm waters of the Gulf Stream on the 9th. On the next day, Gabrielle degenerated into basically going away. All right, and that brings us to Umberto, which is out there currently as I'm recording this. Imelda, okay? Imelda was a blob of gook over on the eastern part of the Gulf. It's been tracking across the Gulf, heading westward all this week, just as a blob of gook. And it went ashore, I think yesterday morning, Tuesday morning. And lo and behold, just as it was coming ashore, it was measured at getting peak sustained winds at 40 miles an hour, which does what? Puts it right into the category of being named. And once they go ashore, they can't strengthen anymore, right? They need the warm water in order to strengthen. Goes ashore at it's a blob of poorly organized gook all week. Now it's dumping a whole bunch of rain in the Houston area right now. That's what tropical messes do. We have tropical messes all the time because we live by the Gulf, right? But this thing gets named as it's going ashore, and it becomes Tropical Storm Imelda. That is 1, 2, 3. That's 4 storms that I'm just saying, I wonder what's up with that. Would those have really been named storms? Now, you didn't come to my channel for weather commentary. I'm not a meteorologist, nor do I play one on YouTube. But that's just my rant for today, folks. Let me know if you think I'm crazy at how rambunctious it seems the Weather Service is to giving names to storms. Have you also noticed that the Weather Channel, and this is just the Weather Channel, nobody else, not even the National Weather Service, names winter storms? Do you know that the the Weather Channel actually started naming winter storms up on the East Coast so they could use social media and hashtag them? Kid you not. Kid you not. It's the Weather Channel that has started to name winter storms. The National Weather Service doesn't do that. It's a private entity doing it simply so that they can hashtag Fred or whatever the winter storm is called. Folks, weather is big business. Big business. All right. I promised you Rectors Blend, and you had to sit through 21 minutes of this nonsense to get to it. Why am I telling you about Rectors Blend? Let me find my notes on that. I'll tell you why. Because earlier this week, I was interviewed by a really nice guy, a guy named Dave Allen. You may know him from the Maple City podcast about pipes and such. He's got a new podcast. It's called Weeknight Smoke. And that's going to begin dropping on October the 2nd. You're going to want to tune in. Go find him. You can find his podcast. It's on Anchor, Anchor FM, and anywhere else fine podcasts can be found. October 2nd, first episode. Episode 1, segment 1. He was goofy enough to ask me to be in it. How about that? And I was blessed and honored. One of the things we got to talking about, he asked me about Rectors Blend. And I'm like, that's really embarrassing because I said I was going to make a video for YTPC about what Rectors Blend was, because I'd sent it out to some folks in a YTPC and gotten some feedback on it. So I said, let me just tell you in the podcast what it is. And I went off on a rant trying to remember what it was. And I said, wait, I got a jar of it. I got the sticky note on it. Let me grab it. I got to grab the jar, and the sticky note wasn't there. So I made myself sound like a fool in episode 1, segment 1 of a brand new podcast from Maple City Media called Weeknight Smoke. So to clear the record, and I sent this over to Mr. Allen so he can put it in the show notes, hopefully, because I really blew it. I called, let me tell you what the ingredients are, okay? Lane BS005, which is a Latakia from Lane. Lane, Virginia, just their straight Virginia, and Lane BCA. Everybody knows what that is, their old black Cavendish. Well, I got the proportions wrong. I got the Marion part wrong when I was talking in the podcast. So here's what you do. I called Lane BS005, BS1, I guess thinking 1Q. I don't know what I was thinking. All right. Here's how I made Rectors Blend, and here's how you can make it too. It takes a little while. You can mix all these ingredients together if you want and go ahead and enjoy it. And what I'm going to tell you is it's going to be slightly different. It's just not going to be the same as if you do it the way I'm recommending you do it, which is first take 1 part Lane BCA and blend it with 1 part Lane Virginia. Let that sit in a sealed jar. Shake it every day or every other day or so and let it sit for 10 to 14 days, sealed up, shaking it every now and then, okay? There's something that's going to happen between that BCA and that Virginia that's going to meld and marry that's different than if you put all 3 ingredients together at one time, okay? So now what you've got at the end of 10 to 14 days is this 1 part mixture of BCA, 1 part Lane Virginia that have become kind of this new blend, right? But you're not done yet. What you're going to do after that is then take 2 parts of Lane BS005, that Latakia blend. You're going to mix that in, seal it up again, shake it, let that sit for a week to 10 days or so. So basically, 1 part BCA, 1 part Lane. Here's how I did it the first time. It was 0.75 ounces of Lane BCA with 0.75 ounces, so 3/4 of an ounce of Lane Virginia. That's now 1.5 ounces of this blend. Letting it sit for 10 days, 14 days, shaking it every day or so. Then opening it up and adding that. Now you got 1.5 ounces of this new blend. You're going to add the 1.5 ounces or 2 parts of the Lane BS005, that Latakia mix. Shake it up, let it sit for a week to 10 days. Open that puppy up and enjoy it. And that's Rector's Blend. I think you're going to find it to be a very smooth smoking, good tasting, pretty nice room note hybrid. Remember, I was after Frog Morton, didn't get there. But I did get a nice hybrid blend out of that, and I think you would enjoy it too. I do, again, you can mix all 3 together and just go for it, and I'm going to tell you, it's not going to be as enjoyable of a smoke. I don't know why. I'm not a chemist. I don't understand how this pH stuff works, but I tell you, if you blend that BCA with that Virginia first and let it sit for a week and a half, 2 weeks, then you add that Latakia from the BS005 and shake it, let that sit for another week or so, you're going to enjoy it a lot more. And that's what I call Rector's Blend. So, that's it. That was one long rant to tell you that today I'm enjoying this Burley Flake by McBaron in this Rossi Rubino that I picked up from the Pike Nook. Hello, Eddie Gray. And to rant a little bit about weather, again, I'm not a meteorologist. I don't play one on YouTube. Take it for what it's worth. I am a skeptic, and I'm particularly a science skeptic when science is presented as truth, and it is good data, but when we start trying to make comparisons of today's data from yesterday's data, that gets us in dangerous territories. We start trying to extrapolate things that we have no business trying to extrapolate from it. Rant over, and to tell you about Rector's Blend. I'm going to close it out for now. I hope whatever it is you're doing today, whatever it is that you're enjoying in your pipe today, whatever it is, it's bringing you blessings and that it's bringing you great enjoyment. Hey, Padre, wishing you and yours God's peace, grace, and blessings.